putting a dip in your hip, a glide in your stride. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe, with shows throughout the week. Everything you want, everything you could need. From the paranormal to the supernatural, from the spiritual to the unknown, from emotions to comedy. You can find us at Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so much more. This is Rift Nation Network, the RNN. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
Warning! This video contains content that is not suitable for all audiences. Some of the information in the following video could be shocking to some viewers and is likely to cause unexpected reactions. This video is for educational purposes only and does not break any of the YouTube policies as outlined in their community guidelines. Viewers' discretion is advised. And now for the show. And good afternoon to all of you. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful holiday weekend. I'd like to welcome you to G3. G3, Gadgets, Gossip, and Ghost. Ghost, Gossip, Gadgets, however you would like to pronounce that, but we are the three. That's interesting. Hold on one second. It looks like we've got a small little thing going on here. I'm going to make sure that the Big Daddy can get in. Looks like he's having some technical difficulties. The host of the show, if you will. Let me make sure he gets this in. Let's see. We'll make sure. I'm trying to help him get on, so I do apologize. Please bear with us. Meanwhile, while we are waiting for him to jump on, we want to welcome you. This is, of course, the second show of G3, where we're going to be talking about history. We're going to be talking about theory. We're going to be talking about how equipment works, where it came from, and different types of methods. You're blurry, slowly clearing, but not yet. That's really interesting, and thank you, Monica. And by the way, hello to everybody that's joined in. I'm not sure I'm showing clear on my end, but then again, we are in the middle of a major thunderstorm. I am going live here at the Cabin on 360. It is an active location here in Mechanicsville, Virginia, historic Mechanicsville, Virginia. Let me pop that out. Maybe that'll help. This show is designed to really educate the general public and those people who are coming along and maybe help some of those research investigators and ghost hunters are out there understand the equipment. It is very glitchy. Okay, I'm not sure why, you guys. I'm not sure why I'm coming through glitchy. I'm showing is perfectly fine, but I think it does have something to do with the thunderstorm. Yay, yay, and boo. Boo. Like I said, we're still waiting. I wonder if there's a little bit of technical difficulty going on here. We're still waiting for the Capitan to jump in, and it looks like it's saying to him it's waiting for the host, and he is the host, and I've already sent the link to him, so I'm not sure what is actually going on. It's really odd. Let me see. I hope we're not experiencing the notorious restream problem. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. But everybody's saying there it is a little glitchy. I wonder if you know what? I had a background going on. Let's go with a standard background. Let's do that. Maybe that'll help with the whole glitchy issue. I'm not sure why, but we're going to go. Let's choose this one for the show. We'll try that and see if that helps with the glitchy. And thank you all, you guys. Thank you so much. We're waiting. We're seeing if Sean can make it on. Like I said, there's been a problem with Facebook to restream, Facebook to StreamYard. And it seems like there's some conflicts, and Facebook is trying to push their agenda for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on and why they making it so difficult. They did this with Blog Talk about 9 years ago. So bear with me while we wait and see. I can attempt to do that. Let me do this. Restream. Hold on 1 second, you guys. We'll see if that helps him. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Yeah, I can try that. Let me see. Bear with us, you guys. We are working this problem out. It's interesting. Now, there's always issues with Restream and StreamYard. Used to be that way with Blog Talk. Makes no sense, actually. None. Let me get up in here. And we do apologize. Please bear with us with this technical difficulty. I don't think so. Sorry about that. I got a little nervous. The cicadas are crazy, by the way. I'm not sure what's going on, you guys. I don't know why it's not letting him in. Anyway, while I'm working with him, I'm going to get started. There might be some glitching that's going to happen now just because I'm opening up another screen and our signal is really, really bad. There we go. There he is. All right, I'm going to do this. There we go. Wow. Can you hear me? I cannot hear you.
How about now?
Now I can hear you.
Okay.
Wow, talking about won't give up, right? Holy crud, man.
Yeah.
How's weather there with y'all?
It's hot today.
Yeah.
It is actually hot.
We are in the midst of a severe thunderstorm as we speak. And I was like, okay. Then everybody was telling me how it's kind of glitching and shittering on my end. I'm like, man, come on now. And then, of course, you got hit. I'm like, wow. That's all right.
Yeah.
We're here.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I tried to get in on the first link, and then I couldn't figure out the other two links wouldn't work. So I don't know what's going on.
Well, you know what? We're here.
I'm here.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to G3. This is the man, the plan. This is the El Capitan. This is Sean.
What's up?
I'm Howie, and we welcome you to G3. So we have a lot of things that we have planned for you guys in the future, and starting tonight, Sean and I are going to be talking about our favorite toys and our experiences the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to introduce you to two of the men in the paranormal field that need to be heard. That's where this all came from. Other than that, I mean, everything else going okay, Big Capitan?
Everything else is perfect. I can't complain. Don't do no good, no way.
I know, right? Well, we do what we can do.
Absolutely.
Well, let's jump right into it, folks. I mean, that's why you're here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about two gentlemen who are going to start out the eras of the paranormal. These two gentlemen actually got involved, and they created the first organized parapsychological group in the world. The gentlemen's names are William James and Henry Sedgwick. Know these names. Henry James and William James, Henry Sedgwick, Sidgwick. These two gentlemen are very significant. Henry Sedgwick was one of the most influential ethical philosophers of the Victorian era, and his work continues to exert a powerful influence on the Anglo-American ethical and political theory. His masterpieces, such as The Methods of Ethics in 1907, was the first published in 1874, and in many ways marked as the climax of the classical utilitarian tradition. Now, that's his background. Now, I'm not going to fill you guys with all this information because there's a lot on both these gentlemen, and we really want to get into the meat and gravy of today's show. But there is a specific reason why you need to hear about these two gentlemen. Author Sedgwick, I'm going to get to that point where I wanted to. Where'd it go? There it is. On his influence in the paranormal field. I had it. I hate it when your notes go flying past and you're like, man, I don't want to talk about ethics. That's not what I want to do. Let's do it like this. Let's look at his origin and parapsychological background. That's what we really want to do. In an intriguing piece of Respection written in 1887, Sedgwick explained, some 15 years ago, when I was writing my book on ethics, I was inclined to hold with Kant, that's another professor of Cambridge, that we must postulate the continued existence of the soul in order to effect that harmony of duty with happiness, which seemed to me indisputable to rational moral life. At any time, at any rate, I thought I might professionally postulate it while setting out on the serious search for empirical evidence. If I decide that this search is a failure, shall I finally and decisively make this postulate? Can I confidently, with my whole view of truth and the method of attainment, and if I answer to no to each of these questions, I have any ethical system at all? Sedgwick and Sedgwick, 1906. Whether Sedgwick's memory was entirely accurate and uncertain, in a letter accurate composed in 1870, he confessed to his friend Robin Knoll, I have never based my belief in immortality on our conscious of the oneness of self. I have always considered Kant's parallelisms conclusions as against that. What I really base it on is, apart from the evidence supplied by the spiritualism and apart from religious grounds, is on ethics, as Kant, supported by common sense, but I do not state the argument quite as you answer it, but thus. Now, I'm going to continue with author um, Sedgwick, Henry Sedgwick, in just a minute, where we're going to pull into William James right now. William James, 1842 to 1910. James was involved in the London Society for Psychological Research from its foundings in 1882, joining an amendment to British colleagues, including philosophers, ethics, and ethicers, whatever that word. Henry Sedgwick, Frederick W.H. Myers, author Balfour, who became England's prime minister, and the physicist William Fletcher Barrett. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up right now, folks, is because William and Henry had a very close relationship. They are the ones that did create the world's oldest organized para research society, that being the Society of Psychological Research, which now has reached all over and is now part of and is the basic foundations of the oldest founding, still running foundation, which is ASSAP, which founding members of. Now, the big deal with this is there was a huge fight that Henry Sedgwick had at the college that he was teaching at, Cambridge, and it went against his moral and ethical being on what they were saying. He started to communicate with William James. William James pulled him aside. They went to another collegiate school together, and then they started doing classes together and created this, what we know today as SPR, or Society of Psycho Research. Indeed, the ASPR, it's American Society of Paranormal Parapsychological Research. Let's try that out. Attracted among its members astronomer Simon Newcomer, John Hopkins, anthropologist Charles Sedgwick, Minot of Harvard, biologist, I can't say that word, biologist Asa Gray, Andrew White, president of Cornell, and Minister Phillips Brooks. They believed with James that scientific methodology could yield significant insights about the unseen world. Heading the community to investigate mediums, James attended seances, sometimes in the company of his colleagues, Josiah Royce, often with his wife. Their motivation was more than intellectual after the death of their son, Herman, in 1885. In grief, they yearned, James said, to know where or what is and where is he. After passing through the dark portal of death. Although many mediums seemed obviously fraudulent, Lenora Piper truly seemed able to transmit communications from the dead. For James, she was the white crow that proved not all crows were black. Piper became the central center to the ASPR's investigation, conducted mostly by British researchers, ironically, Richard Hodgson. In one of his last published essays, James admitted that although physical phenomena remained baffling, he believed that the future investigations would confirm the existence of cosmic consciousness. Get that again, cosmic consciousness. You're going to hear this a lot. Perhaps containing individual spirits and earth memories that transcend mortality into reality. Bam. And here we are. Dun, dun, dun. This is the beginnings of what and why we're doing what we're doing now. These two gentlemen, along with the cohorts at ASPR and APR, ASPR and SPR, all conglomed into one unit, which is now ASSAP, the world's largest para research group. I definitely urge anyone, you really want to know the meat and gravy of what we do? look up ASSAP, start doing your research. The information that'll be provided through this show will be direct from ASSAP to you to help all of you grow and understand why we're doing this. And now I release my triangles, my ropes and my twines and hand it to the Capitan because I got some first you.
Well, I mean, going back to the knowledge and the parapsychology side of things to figure out why we do what we do. I think that it's very important to know what you're in this for. I was thinking about that today when actually even before the show, way before the show, is why do we do it? Like, what is every investigator's reasoning for being an investigator? Why? I know that every investigator likes to say, well, I had an experience as a child. I was 4 years old and I can see spirits. I saw a ghost. That's every investigator's answer. Talk to them. Ask people. When you think about the podcast we host off of this, every investigator says, I saw a ghost, or I can see spirits, or I can hear them talk. But what is your true reason for investigating? Think about it. And I think it goes back. You have to go back into history and figure out what these guys are doing it for.
Right.
My reason has always been to prove whether it exists or not. That's my reason. That exactly. Science. I love science. I am a big nerd, and it's no secret. A lot of people get mistaken by the tattoos and the me being on stage and the stuff that I've done in life. But at the end of the day, I'm a huge nerd. And I like to be my goal is to be able to show somebody and prove to people that there's life on the other side of some sort. And that's the reason why I got into it. And it seems like the theories that these guys from the 1800s, and it goes back further than that, way further than that. But it seems like that's what everyone has been trying to prove throughout the years. So that's the reason why I investigate. It's not a hobby to me. It's not something that I get together and just do for fun and pack up my equipment and come home. It's actual research that I'm looking for. To be able to prove to somebody who maybe doesn't believe in it. And I have, been able to prove it to somebody who's like, it doesn't exist. And I've been able to show them some actual facts and prove things that maybe have swayed them to believe something else. So everybody has their own purpose in doing it. Some people, it is a hobby, but what I like about hearing the history that you read is it makes me also question myself a lot of times as to why do I actually do this?
Yes. I think that's one of the things that makes a good researcher, a good investigator, is the constant going back going, why am I doing this?
Right.
It's not always a pull. And I like what you said earlier, Capitan. You said most people got into this because they had an experience. Nope, not me. I was raised into this. So there are people that are raised in, some of them that just have a curious personality.
Right.
Who want to know. So, but on retrospect, you're exactly right. Most people have had an experience, and the scientific point in their brains go, I need an answer. When?
Bingo.
When did it happen? Why did it happen? Why was I the subject of that matter? What did I do to cause that? Why are they coming to me? It's the whys. Yeah. And then
I want answers.
Right. They want answers. And a lot of us are in this because now we're looking for the answers. And what we need to do is wipe that whole board clean and go back to your basics. Why, when, how, and to what extent. Let's get to those points, and that's what we're doing now. That's why we've started this. This is why this is our journey. That doesn't mean our personalities can change because I am still a goofball. I am still happy. I'm still go lucky. I still have my personality traits where I could snap in a heartbeat and turn on the trig and go blah, 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 blah. But it's all in fun. I do this because I'm having fun.
Let me throw the disclaimer out there. I wasn't making fun of any investigators who had the stories about
God, no.
how sensitive this field is, Howie. Somebody went up and down, I made fun of them.
If they're
one of those people who had the experience as a kid, by the way. but that's not why I became an investigator. But I was one of the people. But I know how sensitive people are. Somebody will watch this and, oh God, that guy Sean was making fun of me because I had an experience. No, I'm not making fun of everybody. I'm just saying that. Why did you become an investigator? I had to put the disclaimer out there because, like I said, I didn't realize how sensitive people were.
And I'm going to turn around and say, I don't care.
Well, I don't care. I don't care if you can be mad at me all you want to. But I just want to throw it out there. For the sensitive folk, I wasn't making fun of you. Or maybe I was a little.
Fun of, then you're the one with a problem. I'm just saying.
Or maybe I was a little, but.
We're not making fun of it. It's just if you feel, I'm not backing on my word, but if you're feeling insulted by anything we've said, then you.
Hey, I'm sorry.
I'm not. Let's continue. So we've got some really interesting things to talk about tonight. Capitan wanted me to bring out my guns, so I'm bringing those out tonight a little bit.
Don't bring out the big ones though.
Oh yeah, don't trust. I got a couple. In fact, something came in today. My Tesla coil came in this week.
Oh man.
Yes. We're talking just like everybody knows. This show's about theories and understanding and plausibilities, and anything's possible. So, my theory on this field slightly changed 3 weeks ago. Not slightly. It greatly changed.
I'm glad I was there to witness it too.
Right? Yeah, we had a big adventure. I would like to use that word on our investigation that we went out to, and it changed the game in some ways. And it should not have changed the game. We've been doing it wrong. Now, all right, if I may, I'm just going to get into the meat on one thing. I finally figured out where the K2 and the multimeter came from, why people think it works. Are you ready? I had an epiphany. I woke up. It came back from the 1980s. Dun 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 dun. Who are you gonna call? All because of that movie. Exactly. All because of that movie. People started using tricorders. They started using EMF readers and K2s. Of course, K2s didn't come out till later because they went digital with the lights. Majority of the time, it was a gauged system, ambient, which is great. I mean, that's great. It's a possibility. Anything's an endless possibility. I'm just not going to go to a K2 and say, that's it. I'm not going to go to an EMF reader and say, can spirits manipulate it? Sure, possibly. I've seen it. Yeah, I'll go with something that manipulated my piece of equipment. They can manipulate anything. They can manipulate child's toys without batteries. Explain that. We're going to talk about that tonight, folks. We got 30 minutes, and we're going to rock the world on this one. So, shall we get started? Because I know you wanted to talk about a few things.
You know, I'm excited. I've been talking about it, just not publicly. Well, I've been saving it for the show.
Well, let's talk about it. You open that door. Let's go there, boss.
Well, let's start with the laser grid. I'm going to say up until I'm going to say blue ball ends. I think I investigated that first with the light grid and seen it actually do what it's supposed to do.
Okay.
It didn't do what it was supposed to do with us,
no.
But it did what it was supposed to do at blue ball.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't like it. It's not my favorite piece of equipment. But the light grid is supposed to shine on the wall so you can, I guess, so you can see shadows walk through it or see it manipulated by something walking through it. That's what I'm guessing, or not guessing, but that's what most people use it for. That's what I would use it for. I don't really look at the wall when I use it. I look to see if anything breaks the beam of light. That's what I particularly use it for. I think I'm doing it wrong, maybe.
No,
but in my opinion, I think if anything breaks the actual beams, is what I'm more or less looking for. Because if I blow my vape smoke at it, it's going to break the beam. And I think that's what I'm more or less looking for. But other people tell me that you look at the wall. So I guess that's a debate that maybe I'm inexperienced with, because I don't really use laser grids as much. But
No, it's actually both. If the laser grid's going to be broken, it'll be broken on the wall too.
right,
So it really doesn't matter where you're looking at. Eh, What I've had the good experiences at times with them.
right.
We had really great evidence at Henricus about 10 years ago, historic location here in Virginia, where we were in the hospital, and it was about 10 o'clock at night, and we had the large laser grid, the larger one, not the smaller ones, and it was completely covering the back wall from one side to the other side. We actually did watch two entities, good word I'm going to use for that, come from the ceiling and kind of do a creeping thing down the wall side, both in front of us and off to the right of us off the wall. That was confirmed by, we had a laser tripwire out as well. And the entities tripped the wire, which set off the alarm. So I'm like, wow, okay, so we had the laser tripwire go off, and I'm talking traditional laser. I'm not talking about this EMF tripwire things that the rope, which is, hey, plausible. I'm not even going to get into that discussion today. However, I'm talking about an actual laser that is attached to your sensors on each end, and it shoots across. When the beam is broken, it sets off an alarm. This set was a set of two, set in a triangle, just like this. So you had your point here going to here, this point here going to here. And we actually had that entity break that field and set the alarms off. Along with, of course, we had the green laser grid, which showed these two entities moving on the walls. Now, I've seen that. I've seen it was really really well seen, and it was an experience that I'm thankful that I got to see that. I saw the same experience at Selma Mansion in Norristown, Pennsylvania. So I can say they were proper. I know their use of the property is to identify anything, breakage of the laser itself in the midst or on the wall, on the wall, the wall, wherever it's located and pointed at. Now,
yeah, I'm new to the laser grid thing. I'll admit I'm a little behind the times on the laser grid. I seen it work at Blue Ball. When I was reviewing footage, I was watching, the grid get broken, not only on the wall, but, in the beams. But with you, I never seen it get manipulated in that form.
Well, this is going to be an unusual form, folks, because now we're going to take this into a whole no theory. And this is where my whole theory of EMF is maybe go. It's absolutely very minimal of a piece of tool to be used in the field. I'm not saying you can't use it. You want to use it, you go right ahead. But make sure you do your research. What it's used for. And we're going to talk about EMF readers and K2s and all that, on another show, because we're going to do a whole show on why people use them and where it came from. You already heard it came from that man. That shirt he's wearing right there, it came from a movie. And people are swearing by a K2 because it came from nostalgia. That is not a proven scientific piece of equipment. Sorry. I've researched, and there is nothing, no scientist has documented that a K2 or an EMF reader is the specific tool to locate an entity or spirit. No, nowhere. Until I finally put the connections of the two and two together, where the movie of, and I cannot say the name, but you see the symbol, where that nostalgic movie came out, what was used in that movie, and then the outburst of people using it after the movie. Before then, it was Polaroids, 35 millimeter cameras, and a recorder. There you go. Theory blown. Now, is it liable now? Sure. Anything. We have multiple cases. When I say multiple, I mean multiplicity That means millions of cases of children's toys being turned on without batteries, things going off at night. Now, this is leading to what Sean was talking about, the laser grid. I'm actually heading that way. But before I get there, the one thing that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention, CB radios, CB base stations. Everything is based on frequency now. Everything else, as far as I'm concerned, is out the damn window. It is static electricity and frequency. Let's go back to the 70s and the 80s. Now, these CB base units and ham radios, they all what they considered being tweaked. The powers can be moved around, the frequency can be changed up and down, etc., etc. Personal experience, and how many of you out there have had a neighbor that when they peaked their base station up, you could hear it through a toaster. You could hear them talking through an electric blanket. You can hear them talking through your radio. Okay, this is all frequency and static electricity. That's where this comes from. I could be in the same room as a gentleman by the name of Sam, who was 5 houses down from us. He would peek on his base station and the fluorescent lights in his room would glow. What does that tell you, folks? It's all common sense. We're just not looking at what we need to look at. This is where we're coming to right now. Back in the 80s, 5 houses down, a whole block down, you could hear Sam and another gentleman, Eric, who was my brother's roommate. When they peaked up their base stations, you could hear it through appliances. If it was electrical, you could hear it. They could actually talk through. You were hearing these conversations, not the other person, but you could hear that base station. Now, the experience that we had 3 weeks ago, we were in a specific location. We had a red laser grid and we had a green laser grid. It got to the point when we first set up, we put the grids out, we put EMF readers, we put K2s, we put cat balls, we put tricorders, we put everything out. We actually had a camera in the very back of the location where we were to capture what we could. Now, what took place after that, to me, opened my mind finally to that key that I was looking for. No pun intended. We watched the red laser grid completely fade out. And I'm not talking an hour, because these are rated 2-hour laser grids. We watched that thing die in about 10, 12 minutes. It just went. Whirr. The green one, however, did slowly die out a little bit after that. But Sean, if you will.
So the green one died out slow. I watched you click the button to cut it back on. I watched you check the battery, check the grid. It didn't do nothing. And nothing happened. I watched you preach a sermon from a Bible that was on a scripture talking about what we were there to do.
Exactly.
And after you preached the sermon, Courtney had mentioned the entity's name that we communicate with on a regular basis and asked it to turn the light on if it was present. And the light flashed out of nowhere. Coincidence. The light flashed. Then we asked it to do it again after the light went off. You checked the battery between this, nothing happened.
Yep.
You click the button. You've done that several times. You click the button, nothing happened. And this battery somehow got power to operate for how long was it? Over an hour. I know it may have been 2 hours. I can't remember.
We were there for 2 hours.
And this battery that was completely dead managed to answer our questions. And this wasn't it would flash on periodically on its own. It was right after a question.
It was intelligent.
Yeah, very intelligent. And, if we weren't asking questions, the light didn't flash. It was only when we asked it to. over and over. And when you pulled out your Hope app, where everything is spoken backwards, it would intelligently answer the questions on the Hope.
Yep.
Which blows my mind because every time I ever pull out my backwards apps, it never works. But when you pulled out your Hope app, it didn't even go backwards first.
Nope.
Right when we established communication with that grid light, it immediately answered your Hope.
Correct.
Which blew my mind because usually when you pull out those apps, that you'll get a few backwards things first.
Mhm.
It immediately, as soon as you said, "Bob, is that you with us?" It immediately said, "I'm here." That was the first thing that it said.
It's just like that.
Like
And-
no backward stuff first, no nothing, and the light never flashed. It wasn't until you asked it to flash is when it flashed.
Right. Now, the Hope app is based off Aleister Crowley's research. What it does is it takes reversed words and jumbles them, but plays them reverse. So it would have to actually manipulate and forcibly manipulate to get a word or a phrase. I mean, it's one thing to get a word, but to get a sentence is something completely different. So you open what is a gate program, you open the gate and close it, and then pow. And that's actually what exactly happened. At that time, there were 5 of us in that location. And then I called for the entire team to come into the location. And that turned out to be 16 of us. Now, in the midst of that, before anybody goes, well, could your switch, could it have been faulty? It was not faulty. I've verified it. I've looked it over. Could it have been one of the cold warm factors? No. It stayed the same temperature. The laser grid itself stayed the same temperature the whole time. Wherever we were, it was in my pocket, so it stayed in my body temperature. So I want to make sure that's because a lot of people are going, oh, well, maybe it was like the flashlight effect. It does not work like that. This is an actual shut off switch. There is no connecting. Once it's disconnected, it's disconnected. So just letting people know about that, okay, before there's any questions about it. Now, here's the ironic part to me about this entire situation. Courtney, me, Chris, Greg, Samantha, we're all asking questions, and the laser grid would come off and come on as asked. It never messed with the red, and I'm going to get Sean's reasoning behind that in just a second. Now, what got me was we had the RW1. We also had that.
Oh yeah.
Now, for those of you who may not know what the RW1 is.
Can I stop you for 1 second?
Yes.
Before you go into that, I gotta say one more thing about that Hope app.
Okay.
What was ironic to me is not only did it give you a few words like "I'm here," when Courtney said, "Do you remember me?" it said, "Yes, ma'am."
Yep.
It directly answered her.
Directly.
It didn't just say yes or yeah, or it said, "Yes, ma'am."
Right.
And then with the laser grid, when I asked it, if this is really you manipulating it, can you just make it? Because I remember it would pop on, then phase out. I said, if it's you, I want you to flash it and then cut straight off. And it flashed it and cut straight off.
Exactly.
So it was almost like we took away all the theories of what it could be. We took away everything that we thought it could be scientifically.
Right.
To make sure it was an entity operating that.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. And
then
go ahead.
All right, go. I know. I'm saying you're about to go into the trifecta thing.
Right. All right. So we were using the new experimental beta piece of equipment called the RW1. It's a passive sonar. And it actually captured something coming from the angle of the laser grid to me and back out. So I was in the middle of a sermon. I'm not even going to go to which one it was. We're not even going to talk about that. However, in the middle of it, you could see the RW1 and it was doing its hits. So it tracks its hits. So if it hits on something, it'll give a number, and the number will give a distance. So yet it be 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, or 4 foot. This particular item has a 4 foot radius. So it's 220 degrees. And we detected it moving, okay, moving up to where I was and staying right there, because not only does the RW1 track it, but it also has sound sensory. So as it got close, you could hear it getting higher and higher. So it go woo. As it, whatever was right in front of me was literally right in front of the KW1, because it made its high pitched sound while I was giving the sermon. And I acknowledged whatever was in front of me, and it went away and it tracked it on the RW1 back to where the laser grid was, and the laser grid went off. Now, this is what got me. Sean asked me if I would like him to bring in the static bell, and I said, yes, please. Let's bring in the bell. So Sean brings in the bell and sits it on the same side of where I was standing, to the left of the same side of where the laser grid happened. And Sean, what happened?
The bell always dings during an investigation, at least periodically, because that's what it does. If it gets an EMF reading, it will ding. That bell did not ding one time during the entire time it was on.
2 hours.
Which is never has happened since I owned that bell at any investigation, which is Bell Grove, which is where I had the best activity out of that bell. The cabin, which is I had the second best activity out of that bell. It has never once dinged. Ringworth, I had great activity out of that bell. It's dinged periodically through the investigation. That is the first time that bell was dead silent. No pun intended. It was dead silent. And we even turned it up a little bit where you can cut the, I don't know the correct term off the top of my head because I'm put on the spot, but you can turn the intensity, we'll use that word, the intensity where it'll pick up the reading a little bit higher of the bell. We cut it up a little bit, nothing. It was dead silent. The only thing that was going off was you were getting K2 hits. Every now and then you were getting the RW1 was pinging every time. And the thing about the RW that was blowing my mind was it was pinging in different spots.
Yeah.
It wasn't just in one place. It was here. You even got Brian to get up and move because just to take him out of the equation, even though he was outside of range, just to take him out of the equation, he moved. And it was still pinging in different, it was same area. So whatever it was, it had to pick up some form of entity because it was here 1 second, then it'd be over to the left a little bit more or to the right a little bit more, but it was in the vicinity of the laser.
Yep. Up total, I do believe we had at least 396 hits in 2 hours.
That's insane.
So that's just astonishing, crazy. Now, this brings us up to why we're talking about it tonight. We know, look, we're not talking about our stories. We're leading this up to reason. We're asking you, we want you to think, what could make that laser grid recharge itself? What would make it, if it was recharging itself, why did not the static bell go off?
Why wouldn't the red laser grid charge up?
Now, I'm coming to you on that one. You have your theory about this when it came to the red and green. So I'm going to let you go with it because this is acknowledgement of intellectual response.
So the entity that I believe we were dealing with and that Courtney believes we were dealing with, the guy that we researched, the guy that the cemetery director had pointed us to died in a fire. And the red laser grid, we don't know what the entity sees. We know that if it's blurred and it's really a veil, all we know is that they see a red blur. So if it's a red blur on the wall and they died in a fire, red represents heat, in my opinion. Could that be what got them to stop or not want that to be on the wall? In my opinion, um, he drained all that energy out of that side and used it, but he likes the green. That entity that we deal with all wants to be seen. Every time we've investigated that particular location, he likes noises. He loves noises. The one we believe we're dealing with loves noises, wants to be heard, wants to be seen. And my theory on that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, you can tell me if I'm crazy, but he's an older black gentleman from the 1800s. Black people from that day, that time, were made to be seen, not heard. They were silenced. In my opinion, this is his chance to be heard. This is his chance to be noticed, his chance to be seen. So they like things that are noisy and loud, and he likes to communicate. His job, he worked in the train station and he worked in the mail department. And that's his chance to say, hey, I'm here. You can see me. He doesn't like the red lights. The last time we were in the chapel and I had I think it's the I forgot what it's called. It's the red laser grid that I have from Ghost Stop.
That's got a grid on it.
Yeah.
It tracks too. Yeah.
Yeah. He came through the spirit box and said he didn't like it. That's why I don't use it in there no more.
I think I'm starting to wonder if there's certain light spectrums that entities, it either bothers them, hurts them, or disturbs them. And I'm starting to think that red is one of that. The red spectrum is something that really bothers them. I really am.
Someone tried to light a candle in there, which I'm against whenever we have investigations, and lighter wouldn't work. I mean, there's just that particular entity does not like anything to do with fire or red, and they died in a fire.
Yeah. Now, let's look at the science of it, and then we're going to talk about what you wanted me to talk about too. My go-to tool, because I know you had an experience with this, and just you want to share that.
That's become one of my new favorites. So go ahead.
Real quick, the science behind it. If you take the power out, if it does not have the ability to recharge, which these batteries do not recharge as such, unless the possibility of it getting a static charge from a location or something to charge it up to static it get back up. Now, here's my underlot of this whole. The static bell did not go off. There you go. However, this laser grid did charge up enough to give intelligent responses. Now, are we looking at everything wrong? Yes, I think we are. This has led me down a new road of theory and new equipment that's coming out, which is going to be really interesting. I'm not saying that the stuff we've been using isn't working, because they can manipulate anything. It's not my go-to, and I don't believe in it. I use an EMF reader for a ground, straight off, see what's out there before the investigation. But it's not my go-to. And I don't think it's a go-to for a lot of people anymore. I think a lot of people are starting to understand. Can they use it to manipulate? Sure. But like I said before, they can use children's toys. They can manipulate anything. They can manipulate a person's cell phone. They can turn the flashlight on in a person's cell phone. I've seen it in a visual. So that has to take some kind of static charge. That is not magnetic. Now, here's where you want me to talk about. In the last 5 minutes, we picked the perfect time to do this. This, everybody knows, everybody should know what this is. Come on, people. We know what this is, right? We know what this is. It's a standard compass. It's a compass. This is the simplest tool in a paranormal investigator's arsenal. Now, the science behind it. North Pole, South Pole. Simple. There's nothing electrical about it. It's only affected by magnetic forces. Now, before we go just north and south, I'm fully aware, and let me explain Earth science. There are 13 different magnetic bands that run around the world, and they move at 10 miles per every 200 years. Okay. So the possibility of one of those magnetic bands affecting a compass is very, 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 very slim. Now, ley line. I need to do a little research if ley lines can affect a compass. That I do need to find out. But the interesting part is this is not going to be affected by any electrical items except for an EMP. Oh, thank you, Z. We actually all have watches, and they're not watches; they're actually compasses. And Sean saw, I think you and Courtney saw the watches we wear. It's not a watch; it's actually a compass on our wrist. We actually wear those. I have these. I've got 6 of these, which are illuminating, and then I have 5 of these, which you can illuminate, but not as good as this one here. I carry them all. I carry them because my father taught me the one thing that's true. If this is being manipulated, something's out there. Something's causing the manipulation, because this is just not manipulated. This takes a lot for it to be manipulated. However, something interesting happened with Sean that I wish him to share that caught my attention. So I'm going to let him talk about it. And this is why every paranormal researcher should have one. Capitan!
Well, was sitting at, we went to Gettysburg to pick up my reenactment gear because we have a reenactment up that way. And Daniel Boner hit me up and asked me if he said some weird stuff was going on at the lodge and wanted us to give him a hand in figuring it out. We sat there, had some minor equipment set up, doing a spirit box session. We're getting a lot of kids coming through there. And I happened to look over, I had it sitting on a wooden table. And I happened to look over at my compass, and the needle was just swing back and forth on its own. Now, mind you, a lot of people say, well, maybe you bumped the table. So I actually did bump the table just to see what it would do. And all the needle did was just shake. It didn't turn. This needle was actually turning as if something was like if you took a magnet and would manipulate the needle. And I thought, I was like, I need to call Howie about this. And there's nothing that's going to make a needle turn unless you turn the compass or unless something is pulling a gravitational or a magnetic pull.
Positive, negative to positive.
And there was no electronics around it. You know, there's no phone around it. There was no magnet around it, no equipment on the table. This compass was on the table by itself. And I just thought that was the strangest thing. And I called Daniel over. I called Courtney over to get another. Those are the only other people in the house. And again, I hit the table again with a little bit more force just to make sure that we took the whole naysayer thing out of it. Well, if you bump the table, maybe I hit the table, didn't realize it, just take all those theories out of there. And all the compass did was just shake. It didn't turn. It would just dance around.
It would have to be manipulated by a pole position energy source.
Right.
So whatever was affecting it was actually affecting the actual magnetic location on a northern southern positive negative pole for it to actually be drawn to that location. That was intriguing to me. That's another thing that's got me thinking about some new stuff. We've been thinking about all these electronics, and then we're looking in the wrong direction, folks. I really think we are.
Yes.
So the next show we do, we're going to talk a little bit more, and we're going to dive into K2s and EMF readers and static chargers, and we're going to talk about all the equipment. We're going to dive into the second era of paranormal research. We're going to talk a little about that, but share us out. Get us out there. We want people involved. We want people to hear what we have to say. This is not your normal, oh, we experienced that. This is, we base our experiences on our research probabilities. And this is why we had this show, because we wanted to talk about the laser grid. We had to talk about the power flux that took place. And then, of course, Capitan's experience with the compass. These are unexplainable, but they have to be explainable. There has to be a reason. We need to find that, and I think we're going to find answers.
Absolutely.
Court said something here. Have a great night. Oh, okay. I thought she did. Okay. I was reading the back to up, the up to the down. My goodness. So, Capitan, we got any other last words before we let this particular show go, if you will?
Nope. I hope everybody has a great time hunting out there, getting evidence. And I look forward to talking about the EMF readers and the K2s, the GOS meters, the Ghostbuster meters, all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
Not intentional, by the way.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to talking to more people, getting some really good basic information on what we're experiencing while we help you guys understand what this equipment's for. So, on that being said, have a magnificent Memorial weekend, if you will. Thank you for everybody who tuned in on my behalf as well. I want to thank you, and thank you for bearing with us today through this crazy signal issues. We have no idea what that's about, but we will see you in 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
So until then, until we meet again, happy trails to you.